Franklin's Tale. Franklin could count by twos and tie his shoes. Wait, no, that's not right. I mean this Franklin. I don't think he had shoelaces, and he looks more like Santa than a turtle. Oh well, whatever. This is Franklin, and this is his tale. There once was a young knight named Aviragus. He met and fell in love with the beautiful Dorigen. They got married and had an unusual wedding. See, back then, like shown in previous tales like The Wife at Bath, marriages usually consisted of one of either the wife or the husband being dominant over the other. But in this tale, Dorigen and Aviragus decided to have an equal marriage, where they both were neither servant nor master, but instead equal. Anyways, so they're married and happily in love. Though soon after they get married, Aviragus must leave for 2 years to work. As soon as he's gone, Dorigen becomes horribly depressed. Aviragus tries sending her letters, telling her that he will return quickly, hoping to console her. But this doesn't work. Instead, she just sulks around and annoys all her friends. She soon gets in the habit of standing on a cliff and watching the ocean, hoping for a boat to come and return her husband. After days and days of this, she begins to get paranoid about the black rocks that line the shore. She fears they're going to destroy her husband's boat before he can return to her. Dorigen's friends begin to get worried about her, and try to guide her away from the ocean and take her to rivers and wells instead. Finally, they decide to have a garden party in Aviragus' private garden. This is where she meets Aurelius, who has been in love with her since he first saw her. He knows that her husband is gone, and uses this opportunity to go up to Dorigen and professes his undying love to her. Dorigen looks at him and tells him she'll sleep with him if he can remove all the rocks from the shore. Of course, Aurelius knows this is impossible and sulks his way home. When he gets there, he prays to Apollo, god of the sun, to pray to Lucina, goddess and the queen of the sea, to flood the sea so that it covers all of the rocks. Of course, nothing happens. Depressed and defeated, Aurelius lays in his bed for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. Meanwhile, Aviragus has returned home, and he and Dorigen are happily united and they dance together and whatnot. Anywho, Aurelius' brother is getting worried about him, since he's been lying in bed for 2 years. He then remembers a scholar he knew, who was able to perform illusions. He tells Aurelius this and tells him that they must go and find him. So they set off in search of the illusionist. When they get there, the illusionist shows him what he can do, and after explaining the situation, he agrees to make the rocks disappear for 1 week for the price of 1,000 pounds. Aurelius agrees, and they take the illusionist back home. Aurelius waits a few days until he is sure that the illusionist has made all the rocks disappear and goes to tell Dorigen. At this time, Aviragus is away for a few days again and knows nothing of the bargain. So Aurelius goes and tells Dorigen that he made all the rocks disappear and that he'll meet in the garden and finish the deal. He then leaves her, and Dorigen goes back home and freaks out. She cannot believe that he did it and that she actually has to have sex with this guy. She thinks she either has to go through with all this or kill herself. She then begins reciting other stories where women were faced with similar situations, and they all decide to kill themselves rather than be defiled. She then decides that she must kill herself. Luckily, she's able to wait a few days until her husband returns. When he does, he can see that she's upset and asks her what's going on. She then freaks out and tells him everything that happened and how she's going to kill herself. After hearing all this, Aviragus just looks at her and says, "That's it? Seriously?" Of course, Dorigen still is freaking out about this guy who wants to have sex with her, and she's married and doesn't like him and doesn't understand why Aviragus isn't freaking out. He tells Dorigen that she has to go fulfill her end of the bargain, that he's willing to take all the shame and become a cuckold, just so that she can keep her word and reputation. Completely confused and stunned, Dorigen goes with a servant towards the garden to meet Aurelius. Meanwhile, Aurelius is also on his merry way to the garden, and on the way he meets up with Dorigen. He asks her where she is going, to which she replies, "To the garden, like my husband has ordered." Aurelius is then so filled with pity and is so astonished that Aviragus knows what's going on and is willing to have the shame of an unfaithful wife rather than have her break her promise. He then realizes that he would rather suffer sorrow than divide their love. So he tells Dorigen that she is completely discharged of her promise. Happy that she doesn't have to sleep with Aurelius, Dorigen thanks him and runs home to Aviragus and tells him what happened. They then lead the rest of their lives in sovereign bliss. Any anger between them, and Aviragus cherished her as though she were queen, and she was true to them forever. But enough about them. There still really is. And he's at home, still owes the illusionist £1,000, and doesn't have any. He figures that unless he sells his house and becomes completely homeless and poor, he cannot pay him off. He then decides to take all of his gold, that is worth about £500, and bring it to the illusionist. He would then offer to pay the rest of it in small increments each year. With this plan, he sets off to the illusionist and gives him his offer. The illusionist then asks what happened between him and Dorigen, so Aurelius explains everything to him. After hearing this, the illusionist tells him that since he is so noble, he is completely free of his debt, and rides off back home. The tale then ends, leaving just one question.